Yo, hey, what's up YouTube? This is Diaphone, and today we're going to be talking about option selects. Let's actually define what an option select is. A situation where performing the same inputs can lead to several different outcomes depending on how the characters interact. Good option selects tend to reduce the burden on a player to perfectly predict or react to everything happening in the game, and therefore you get better outcomes. Some option selects help you cover multiple choices at the same time. So yeah, option selects are pretty dope. Guilty Gear has this number of option selects, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so I'm going to divide it up into several sections. I'm going to talk about option selects that are specific to Guilty Gear, option selects that work in most games, including Guilty Gear, and are also very useful. And then I'm going to talk about option selects that are in the game, but I don't think are useful or they're just very hard and impractical. Timestamps will be in the description below. And if you guys like the content, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. All right, so first OS I want to cover, and probably one of the most important option selects, is what I call the Throw PRC option select. So the idea behind this is that your throws have a lot of recovery behind them. Let's say you predict a throw, and you backdash it, right? You just took a shit ton of damage for trying to throw the opponent, right? And there's a way safer way to do this if you have 50 meter, and it makes backdashing throws actually a pretty poor option. And right now in this current meta, you see a few really strong players doing this, but it's not widespread. But I think eventually this tech will be very widespread because it's very strong. And so what you do is that when you do your throw, if it whiffs, you want to RC, right? You can RC pretty much everything in this game. So you see it whiff, you RC, but instead of actually waiting to see the whiff, you just do it in all one slick motion. So you see how the grab barely came out there? It'll still grab, and you see how I did the RC input, but if it whiffs, the RC comes out and you're a lot safer. And so what this lets you do is on hit, you get the throw, but on backdash, I get punished, which makes it really good. So it makes backdashing throws not a very good option. If you're going to implement one option select into your game, this would probably be like top 3 option selects to learn in Guilty Gear. Very important one to do. You can also do this with other throws as well, but it's the same idea with any character that has a throw, or basically anything that's a capture state. You just option select the capture state and then you can grab them out of it. So same idea, you do Potemkin Buster, and on whiff, you get that. And the crazy thing is you can literally just Potemkin Buster them again and they just die. But yeah, it's pretty dumb, right? And so at the higher level, people are going to be implementing this. All right, so the other game specific option selects I don't think are that important compared to this. But for example, one of the option selects you can do is if you want a safer way to tech throw, because we just realized that backdash is a pretty unsafe way to tech throw, you can tech with FD and the throw input. In order to do this, you want to have no burst meter, because if you do it incorrectly, you'll just burst, and that's not good, right? This is a lot more practical without burst. All right, but the idea is you do FD and burst at the same time, or FD and dust. And when you do that, there's actually a throw input in here, but all you're getting is FD. And because you're not whiffing a throw, it makes it a lot safer to tech. And so keep in mind that the strive throw window is only 5 frames. And so it is a little hard to time, but because this option select is pretty easy to input, you can literally just mash it. And I think people will get pretty good at that. It's a pretty non-committal way to tech throw and get out of a situation. One thing you can do is if you have burst, if you plink it just right, you can do the same kind of thing. And so you see how burst came out when I did the normal input? If you plink it correctly, you see how I actually pressed the burst input, but the burst didn't come out? If you plink it correctly like that, you can actually do this while you have burst too. Yeah, let me actually record as you can see, not quite sure the practicality of this. On grab, it techs, but on whiff, you just get an FD. I don't think this is that practical, because if you're mashing it like and you mistime it, you just get a gold burst or get a regular throw. It's very hard to do in my opinion. So the next option select, let me switch back. It's called the counter hit hit stop option select. And so the idea is that when there's a counter hit, as you guys know, the screen like shakes. And when the screen shakes, it adds a lot of hit stun. And because it adds hit stun and it adds a lot of timing, it makes it so that you can disguise another input and make it so that a different special comes out on hit versus counter hit. Let's put the opponent to random guard. And on normal hit with Eno, that combos to S in the stroke, slash stroke. On counter hit, this also combos, but you can get a lot more reward by going the heavy stroke. And if you input everything correct, basically you input the one move you want to come out on regular hit first, and then you input the second move that you want to come out on counter hit, you can have that situation happen. So what I'm doing is I input the S stroke and then I input the H stroke. Yeah, that's really consistent. And so when you do it like that, it maximizes your ability to convert off of a hit. Every character can do this. You know, Eno has some other applications where, for example, after like an anti-air, you can do the same kind of thing. If you do S stroke on counter hit, it whiffs, so you don't want to do that, right? But on normal hit, it's okay. So on counter hit, that came out. And on normal hit, the slash stroke came out. So again, another really strong option select. I think as the game develops, people are going to have this down because it makes your hit confirms way easier and it reduces a lot of the burden of trying to react to a counter hit. All right, so the last option select we'll talk about as Guilty Gear specific is what I call the 4PK OS. So if you press 4P OK, it's just you're just getting FD, right? But what happens if they cross you up? So let's say you're not sure whether it's going to cross up or not, but when it crosses up, that 4PK becomes a 6PK, and when that happens, you get a 6P. So it's really good in these cross-up situations where you're not sure whether they're going to land front side or back side. See how like sometimes that lands front side, it can be a little tricky to react to, especially in the heat of the moment. But if you just do the 4PK OS, it's pretty good. I think there's some other applications. So like, let's say a character like Milia does like a JH and then they do air dash into another JH. I think this mix-up's really useful there too. So we'll set the opponent to do JH and then they'll do JH. That's kind of hard to react to in the moment, but you can do this OS here, right? So that was cross up and that was non-cross up. So same kind of idea, same input. I actually did 4P and heavy slash there, just subconsciously. I guess that's what I must do. But the same result happens on with, you know, 6P is prioritized over my 6HS. And so I get that. As you can see, it's pretty consistent. All right, we'll talk about a couple other OSs here. So these are just not really game specific, but they're really important to know. And the first is what I would call a fuzzy options. And let's go to the glossary again. Fuzzy is like one of the most confusing terms in my opinion. Actually, the glossary agrees. The first line is literally a confusing term with two meanings, right? And so let's get our definition straight. So when I'm talking about fuzzying, I'm talking about something like a fuzzy guard, basically trying to block two directions at nearly the same time, so it's harder to land a mix-up. That's called a fuzzy guard. You can do the same thing where you do like a delayed button that only works at certain times. I call that like fuzzy mashing. They don't really cover it here. This is fuzzy teching, same idea where you do like a late throw tech, but that doesn't really exist in this game. They don't have fuzzy jump, but fuzzy jump is the same idea. It's that instead of jumping immediately on wake up, you do a delayed jump. So basically anything that's fuzzy, think of it as something that's delayed. And with the delayed timing, it option selects a couple different things, right? Let's talk about fuzzy backdash first of all. So just like the other fuzzy terms we talked about, fuzzy backdash is just doing a backdash at a delayed timing. So Soul gets a knockdown and they go for a 5S on wake up. And if you backdash this, you just get hit. So that's not good, right? Okay, well, I'll just sit there and block. And then this happens, right? So is there a way to beat both of those options? Well, yeah, there's a few ways. And the main way to beat this is through what we call fuzzy options, right? So let's set the opponent to random. And if you want to test these, this is how I recommend you testing it. You record a couple different recordings and then you set the opponent to random. And what I'm going to do here is a delayed backdash. I gotta get the timing right. And so you see how I blocked it there. blocked because again, I'm doing delayed backdash because I don't want to get hit by the meaty. And I backdash the throw, right? And the reason this works is because meaties are going to be at a different time than throws, because when you're getting up, you actually cannot be thrown out of your get up timing for at least several frames. So that means all throw attempts are mashable, but you don't want to mash, right? Because if they see, like, this recording is not the best. But yeah, if you mash, something like that happens, that's not the best. So mashing on wake ups is usually not good because meteors are just really strong in this game, but you can mash out of throws on wake up. Let me set the opponent to mash on wake up. That's probably gonna be easier. But yeah, so there is grab info on wake up, and so for something like that, if I just time the grab super early, it's just gonna whiff before they even get up. Because this discrepancy exists between, you know, blocking on the like a true meaty and the fact that they have to delay the throw, certain options like delayed backdash will be both their options. And obviously delayed backdash is infallible. It loses to stuff like, for example, the options like we showed earlier in the video where they grab you, they PRC the grab, and then they punish your backdash. They could just delay their normal, or they could chase down the backdash. There's a bunch of different ways to beat it, but it is it's a pretty good option in this game. The other thing you can do also is you can just fuzzy jump. Instead of doing a delayed backdash, you just do delayed jump. And the idea is you jump the throw, but you block the meaty. Alright, so try to jump out of the throw, but block meaty. Try to jump out of the throw and block meaty. And you see how the jump actually came out there. I could have punished the jump with something like JS and the dive kick. So yeah, really good tech. So you can do that with backdash, you can do that with jump, you can do that with mash as well, but it's not that good in this game. Let's talk about defending Ino, right? Because you can use some good option selects against her. Alright, so I have the dummy set to either sweep me, do a note, and then do 2 highs, or do an empty jump low. And you might be thinking, this is a true 50-50, I'm gonna get completely mixed. But because the low comes out at a different timing than the highs, you can do what's called a fuzzy guard, which means that you block high, then you block low, and then you block high again in case they do another overhead. So let's show you guys what that looks like. So you see how I blocked that low? Yeah, so I was able to block high there. And if you kind of look at my inputs, I'm actually going high, low, and high. Because again, the highs, that JD is also a high. And it occurs at a different timing than the initial low it happens at. I don't know, like, a very good situation to fuzzy mash in this game, unfortunately. Grand Blue, I did fuzzy mashing all the time. I, like, never fuzzy mash. Oh, I know the best way to show fuzzy mashing. This is easy. This is actually super easy. Against a character like Ino, just doing delayed fuzzy mash, or any of these option selects, there's always the ways around them, right? So just keep that in mind when you're trying to implement these into the game. If you don't automatically have 100% win rate, it's not because the option select's bad, it's because it doesn't solve the game for you. It's something you have to slowly implement in certain situations, right? All right, so let's take, for example, an Ino that does an unprotected dive. So let's say they're doing something like this, right? And then they happen to go for the jump low. All right, so you see how my jab came out with that last one? What I'm doing is the delayed jab here, and in case the jump normal doesn't come out and they're trying to go for like a empty jump throw or an empty jump low, the jab will counter hit them. So this is what we call a fuzzy mash. And obviously Ino has ways to beat this. They can just do a delayed like 2K, or they can do a delayed jump normal. And that would counter hit that. Again, I haven't found too much application for fuzzy mashing, but it's very prevalent in a lot of fighting games, especially stuff like Street Fighter 5 and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. So I think it's worth mentioning that you can do delayed buttons that will beat multiple different options in this game as well. Oh yeah, let's do a Backdash OS. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the opponent to either jump or backdash on wake up, right? And so if they backdash, the 2K will whiff, right? And if they try to jump, the 2K will hit, and then they get another knockdown, right? And keep in mind, I'm not a solo player, I'm just showing the application this works for any character. So in order for when the 2K comes out that you get nothing, what you can actually do is option select this so that you do something that will chase the backdash. And so you see how the sweep still came out on whiff, right? And so what I'm doing is that I was double tapping the sweep input so that on backdash, in case it whiffs, a sweep comes out and chases the backdash, right? A more practical instance of this happening is, let's say, take for example a safe jump. All right, let's do it after a sweep. So on jump they get hit. And you see how the sweep chased her down. I didn't even have to react to that, right? And then if they just get hit by it, you see how there's no sweep that came out, right? So this uses the block stun to make another move not come out. This is actually what back in the day they called this the Diaphone OS. Basically what would happen was Diaphone would option select the jump in with a Shoryuken, and if the jump in was blocked, then the Shoryuken will come out. So this is an option select. I actually use this option select with Ino. I'll chase down stuff with sweeps and strokes after a jump. That will only work if they backdash because the jump in will flip. So there is application to this. This probably isn't the best application of it for Soul, but if you're looking to catch backdashes, especially after safe jumps, this is probably the best way to do it. All right, I think that's it for basically all the practical option selects. I do have a couple non-practical option selects that I found and people submitted over Twitter. I did a call out to see. So this is option select just for completionists. I don't quite get how this works, but if you take a look at the clip, FD comes out, and if they stick out a button, you'll get a DP. So pretty crazy. This is what's called a proxy guard OS, and uses the change in animation, at least my understanding, to make an input happen. Typically, these are very strict in timing and usually aren't practical, at least in other Arc Sys games I've seen. But for completion's sake, this does exist. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. So SKD, if you guys are looking for like an actual tech lord to follow, SKD is definitely the guy, right? So this is a good point. You can actually carrot cancel your burst with throw. So this is actually pretty funny. I was playing with this earlier. So what this looks like. All right, so you see how burst is coming out? Well, if you're actually right next to them. Oh, this is fucking hard as shit to do, by the way. Yeah, so as long as you time it right, you'll actually get a throw, because what you're doing is you're carrying the throw into a burst. So let me actually show you that this isn't me like fucking up the timing. So that's a throw, and then on a whiff, you get a burst. That's actually pretty OD. I don't know like how practical that is, because like you literally just waste your burst for whiffing a throw. But you know, if you want to like stay extra safe, I guess that's one way to do it. Maybe if you have like no health. And yeah, looking at the thread again, SKD does make a good point that we talked about the 4PK OS, but you can also do that with other specials too, and then hold back, and that allows you to guard at the same time as having a special come out on cross up. Oh yeah, this is a good point by ServerQuest. So this is very similar to like a general fighting game OS, but if you want to do a reversal and want to make it a little safer, you can end it like a DP input in down back, and if there's like a true block string, you'll get a guard instead of a DP that comes out. So it's actually pretty good, as you guys can see from this example by SoberQuest. And I think that's it for all the option selects. So guys, I hope you found that useful. If you want to see more, follow SKD. If there's ever an option select that comes out, follow SKD. He's probably gonna be the first to have it, but you know, I'll also update this. So if there's anything else we find, I'll add to the description below or the comments. So check that out. And if you guys want to see more content like this, we want to see more guides, please let me know what you'd like to see down in the comment section below. And please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. And thanks guys. Have a great day.